As you guys know, I'm very active on Twitter, and I've wanted to do something with Twitter and a Q&A for quite some time. So a few days ago, I think actually May 22nd, I put out a tweet saying basically, ask me your baseball questions. If I pick yours, you're gonna have a chance to be featured in the video. I feel like this could be a really fun way to get Twitter interacting with the channel, kind of mesh the two together. So maybe Twitter, Instagram, we can work this out somehow. But if you guys want to see this kind of stuff in the future and you enjoy these little Q&As where you ask me baseball questions, make sure to leave a like on the video. That's the best way to show your support. Subscribe if you're new and you enjoy the content. The sub growth on this channel has been crazy. I've had 2 days in a row of over 1,000 subs each single day. So that's a new record on the channel. Thank you guys so much for the amazing support. I really can't, thank you enough. Get in the comment section down below. Let me know if you want to see me do more of this kind of content. I'm willing to do this kind of stuff. So if you want to see it, make sure to comment down below. And of course, if you want to be featured in these videos, you know what to do. Follow me on Twitter and follow me on Instagram at GiraffeNeckMarc. Links in the description. So we might as well get started by answering some of these questions. Let's get going into it. First question comes from Joe Allenback. He's saying, even though the Orioles are so bad this year with such a terrible roster, will Trey Mancini make the All-Star team? I do think Trey Mancini has a chance to make the All-Star team. He's having a really good year for the Orioles right now. He's hitting right around 300. He is clearly their best player on that roster. So I'm not 100% sure if with the new rules that have been in place that every team now has to have a representative. If that's the case, Trey Mancini might have a little bit of a harder time. But of course, if the rule is still in place where each team needs to have a representative in the All-Star game, Trey Mancini is the obvious choice for the Orioles. This next one comes from Sam Watson. He says, do you think Scherzer gets traded? I can't see a world where the Nationals trade Max Scherzer. He's under contract until 2022, so while the Nationals look to be just in a terrible spot, I mean, wow, who saw this coming that the Nationals would be arguably just as bad as the Marlins this year. Dave Martinez is on his way out. They're definitely going to fire him. But I don't think they tear it down just yet. They still have Scherzer. They still have Strasburg. They still have Corbin. That's an incredible core to build around pitching-wise. If they can get some hitting, and most importantly, if they can get anybody who can pitch out of the bullpen, this Nationals team can turn it around. But I really don't see Scherzer getting traded. This next one comes from Trey Reisgaff, and he says, if you have any player in Mets history play for the current Mets team, who would it be? And honestly, my choice is always going to be Mike Piazza. I love Mike Piazza so much. He's my favorite player of all time. I wish right now, in the current situation of me understanding baseball and where I'm at on YouTube, I wish Mike Piazza could still be on the Mets. I would love to see that guy wear the Mets uniform one more time and play a game. My favorite player of all time, why I wore the number 31, catcher, all that good stuff. He might not be the best choice because I don't think he would really help the Mets the most. We do have some bigger issues, but I would love to see Mike Piazza back in the Mets uniform playing again in his prime. At TonyMoo84 asks, do you think Joey Gallo can sustain the numbers he has right now, or will he eventually go into the slump? Now, I think Joey Gallo actually can sustain these numbers. Now, in the past, he's been a player who hits right around 200, strikeout, home run, walk. Those are the 3 outcomes we normally expect from him. But Joey Gallo's hitting 278, right around 280 this year, and while I don't think he's a 300 type hitter, I think he can definitely be in that 250 to 280 range. This is a guy who is very hyped up as a prospect. This is someone who you expected to have a big impact when he hit the majors, and he's finally starting to do it. Now, is it as soon as we thought? No, but it looks like Joey Gallo, something's clicked in there. He's figuring something out a little bit, and I think he can definitely sustain his success in 2019. At MattMag1013 asks, are the Indians and Nationals done? What do they need to do to turn it around? Do they tear it all up this offseason? While I don't think the Nationals tear it up, because I kind of already answered that, I think the Indians are definitely a candidate to tear it up, maybe even at the trade deadline. The Twins have a pretty healthy lead right now already in the AL Central, and this is a division that pretty much everybody thought the Indians would win pretty easily. Now, I'm not saying people doubted the Twins all season, but this was the Indians division to lose, and they're currently losing it. We heard the offseason rumors about trading Kluber, about trading Bauer, about trading some of their other players. The Indians owner or GM, I don't remember exactly who it was, but he basically came out and said that they're not going to be able to re-sign Lindor when he's a free agent in a couple years. How? They already seem to have had it in their head that this team, if they don't perform right now, you know what, let's tear it down. They didn't make any good moves this offseason. Carlos Santana was their best pickup, and that was sort of like a, yeah, let's pick up Carlos Santana thing. They didn't address the outfield at all. Their outfield is just not good. I just don't see this Indians team being something that stays together. I don't think Lindor or Ramirez necessarily get traded just yet, but if they get a deal for Kluber or Bauer or one of these pitchers, I think that you end up seeing them get moved. At Rezio says, will Caleb Smith be an all-star? And my opinion, even without the rule about having to have one representative from each team, I think right now Caleb Smith deserves to be an all-star. He's clearly been the best pitcher on the Marlins. He's been one of the best pitchers in the National League in 2019. I think if Caleb Smith continues on a strong pace, he'll find his way onto the all-star team. The only reason I could see him not is because he plays for the Marlins, and maybe he just gets forgot about because that team's irrelevant. At David Curse 2 asks, do the Brewers need to sign Craig K or Dallas K or both? I think the Brewers could definitely benefit from signing Craig Kimbrell or even Dallas Keuchel or even both. The Brewers could definitely do it, helping out that bullpen. Obviously, when you have a stronger bullpen, that helps the team be more successful, and Dallas Keuchel would be that extra piece, that final piece of the puzzle in the starting rotation that they need. Gio Gonzalez they got, he's been pitching fantastic, but still, that rotation is not a top 10 rotation in baseball, and in my personal opinion, you need to have strong pitching in order to go to that next level. It doesn't matter how good your hitting is. If that pitching can't help, it's not going to do you any good to score that many runs. So I think adding either of those guys, or especially both, would be huge for the Brewers. I just don't see it happening. At NYY Diamond _ asks, do you think the Mets will make the playoffs? Also love the videos. Keep up the great work. Yo, appreciate that, of course. Thank you. Doesn't look like the Mets can make the playoffs. They need to make some moves. They need to get healthy. They need to play well as a team. They started off the season hot like they do every single year, and then the month of May comes around and they start to come back down to earth. I mean, this team, when the starting pitching pitches well, the bullpen blows it. When the starting pitching sucks, the bullpen holds it down. And then when they have good pitching, in total, the hitting doesn't happen. So the Mets are all over the place right now. I think that they're close, but right now, if I had to say that they're going to be a playoff team, it just doesn't seem like that case. At TreyRux97 asks, do you think Bryant and Rizzo will be Hall of Famers? And I think it is way too early to decide that. I don't think Anthony Rizzo will be a Hall of Fame type player. Just kind of projecting his career, I don't really see it. Chris Bryant, I think, has the best chance out of those two, but I wouldn't be betting my money on anybody just yet. It's very difficult to decide whether a player is a Hall of Famer or not this early in their careers, and I understand Rizzo's in his 30s, but even then, it's still kind of tough. Who would have thought that Nick Markakis would ever be in the conversation? If the dude gets 3,000 hits, how do you keep him out? So a lot can change over time, but to say right now, it's just way too difficult. There's only like a few guys right now playing baseball who you can say are guaranteed. Mike Trout, Miguel Cabrera, Clayton Kershaw, Albert Pujols, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple, but for Brian and Rizzo, I just can't say just yet. At Aaron A. the King says, is Frankie Montas an all-star? Now, while I mentioned him in one of my underrated player videos that I recently uploaded, if you haven't seen that, go watch it. I don't think he's an all-star just yet. He is having a good start to the year. I just don't know if he's an all-star. When you think of top pitchers in the American League, again, Frankie Montas is not going to be one of the guys that comes up in your head. And I think that there's better options to choose from on the A's as their all-star representative if there is one. Blake Trine and some of those relievers are having better years. So no, I don't think he's an all-star, but he's definitely having a good year. At BC_Hanrahan says, who is the true home run king? And I know that this one is going to bother a lot of people, but it is Barry Bonds. Stop giving me this who's the true home run king. Barry Bonds hit the most home runs, never failed a drug test, never caught for steroids. While did he probably take them? Yeah, signs are leading to yes. Innocent until proven guilty. And I still don't think you understand what steroids do. They do not make you a better baseball player. They keep you on the field. It's for recovery. If you go back and look at articles talking with Hank Aaron, talking with some of the older players, they didn't take steroids, but they took other things that would help them stay on the field more. Specifically, greenies were one of the big things that a lot of players were taking. You also had players taking speed back in the day. So to just punish Barry Bonds because we know more about steroids than we do about stuff back in the day, I think it's a little ridiculous. He's clearly the true home run king. He is the GOAT. At Cespario Grom 17, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but he says, if you had to choose a favorite AL team at the moment, who would it be? I always go with the Houston Astros. That's a team that I love to watch play. They're obviously one of the best teams in the game, but I always kind of like the Astros even when they sucked, and then they started to get good, and I was like, oh, cool, Astros. That could be the AL team I root for if I have to, you know, if the Mets are out of the playoffs. I'll root for the Astros. At K Clutch Shot asks, why is nobody talking about Franmil Reyes, Chris Paddock, Melky Cabrera, and Cesar Hernandez? Well, no one's talking about Franmil Reyes because he's hitting home runs, but that's kind of what a lot of players are doing right now. Everyone's hitting home runs right now in 2019, and he doesn't have a particularly high average. He's not great in the field. So while he may be very important to the Padres, that's kind of why. People are talking about Chris Paddock, so I'm not sure where you came up with that one. No one's talking about Melky Cabrera because he plays for the Pirates. Who really cares? And he's hitting for high average. This is kind of what Melky does here and there. He'll go on a really hot start, and then he'll come back down to earth. Melky Cabrera has had a full career to know what kind of player he is. No one really cares about Melky Cabrera at, age 35, hitting 300. And similar to Melky Cabrera, we've seen enough out of Cesar Hernandez to know that you shouldn't be freaking out over his numbers this year. Again, there's a lot better players in the league. That's why nobody's talking about him. Is he maybe underrated? Sure, but again, we've seen a career worth of his at-bats. He might not be this kind of player. Let's see what he does at the end of the year. At DRevel2002 asks, what are your thoughts on Michael Chavis for the Red Sox? Potential Rookie of the Year? I think Chavis definitely has the potential to be Rookie of the Year, especially in the American League, where the rookie candidates aren't necessarily as strong. Vlad Guerrero Jr. is off to a bit of a slow start. Eloy's off to a slow start. Michael Chavis has been pretty dominant as a hitter at the plate for the Red Sox. Big reason why they've been able to turn things around. So I think he definitely has a chance for Rookie of the Year, and he was obviously a very good player. At Chad Gaming 18 says, who do you think is winning the MVP? So if the season were to end today, I'm probably going with Cody Bellinger in the National League. Obviously, his numbers are just disgusting. And if I picked in the American League, we know Mike Trout's going to win at the end of the year. But if it ended right today was the last day, I think I'm probably going with George Springer. He's going off for the Astros in the American League. Been the best player possibly in that league this year. So I'd go with George Springer in the American League, and I'd go with Cody Bellinger in the National. At Mr. Dinger Hitter asks, who will win the AL East? Sox, Yanks, or Rays? I'm going to stick with my prediction that I had at the beginning of the year. Yankees win the AL East. Rays and Red Sox make the wild card spots. At Brett_Longo_3 asks, are the Phillies still the 4th place team? I'm sticking to it. I'm going to continue to say the Phillies are the 4th place team, but it definitely looks like it might be a little bit harder for that to come true, pretty much only because the Nationals. The Nationals look like they have 4th place on lock. So Philly fans, while you're in 1st place now, remember the season doesn't end in May, it ends in September. If anybody knows about choking a lead, you should know about it because you beat us twice, 2007, 2008, where the Mets choked some crazy historical leads in the NL East. So just keep that in the back of your head. Don't get too cocky before the season's over. At Mad King Tyler asks, have your postseason predictions changed after the first quarter of the season? Yes, they've definitely changed. At the All-Star break or at the halfway point, I'm going to make an update on my predictions, so keep an eye out for that. But my playoff predictions have definitely changed. At RealJeremy2020 asked, would Babe Ruth be the same player he was if he played in the modern game? My immediate answer that comes to my head is no, absolutely not. Pitchers are way better than they were back in the time that he played. Now, do I think that Babe Ruth maybe would have been able to adjust because obviously now the hitting philosophy is different. He would have gotten better training. He would have worked out better. He would have been in better shape. Of course, you can always factor those things in, but I don't think that if you drop Babe Ruth in 2019, he'd be the same player he was back in the day because it's just a completely different game. I still think he'd probably be a good player, but definitely not one of the GOATs, as they say. So that's gonna wrap up my first ever Twitter Q&A on the channel. Of course, if you want to be involved in the next one of these, you can follow me on Twitter at GiraffeNeckMarc as well as Instagram at GiraffeNeckMarc, because maybe I'll do one with Instagram next time. I think it was a fun, different kind of video just to change it up from doing a tier list every single day, but don't worry, they'll be back tomorrow. As always, if you guys do enjoy this kind of stuff and you want to see more of it, make sure to leave a like. That's the best way to show me that you want to see me do more Q&As on the channel. Subscribe if you're new and you enjoy the content. If you love baseball, this is the best place to be, so make sure to hit that sub button. Remember to get in the comment section down below, leave some comments, questions for me for maybe the next one that I'll answer in the video. And that's gonna wrap up today's video. YouTube recommends you watch this video as well, as this is my most recent upload, so click through those if you have not yet seen them. Thank you guys so much for the amazing support recently, and yeah, I'll see you all tomorrow for another video. Bye.